August the July the 18th, and I stopped in Oklahoma for a couple of days. Stopped in New Mexico to sleep for one night. Came to Oakland, took care of some business, drove down to Sedona, stayed there for a week, and then went to LA and stayed there for a week, and then came back home. And yes, I drove in the middle of a global pandemic.
All right, fam. I gotta preface this with this. I gotta preface this live with Sister ZaZa with this. For all of those naysayers, for all of those who y'all are not still operating in complete African awareness, and y'all look for any reason to deflect. I have to say this. Now, yes, ZaZa Ali is quote unquote, and I say quote unquote with quotes, biracial. Okay? She has a European parent and an African parent. Okay? So that is true. But that does not, and I want y'all to hear me clearly, black people, that does not invalidate the science that this sister puts down. That does not make her untrustworthy inherently. And that is not a fucking talking point or a standing point to try to denigrate this sister. Now, I want to say this also, because I had an individual, he's not an individual, friend of mine. We had a little discourse. That's why I kind of called him an individual, but it's a friend of mine, a good friend of mine. And, you know, he said this to me 2 years ago, and he said it to me recently, in reference to the last female that I was in a relationship with, because she was quote unquote biracial. She had a African, a black mother and a Guyanese father. So she was quote unquote biracial. And he mentioned something to me recently, same shit he said to me 2 years ago when I got into the relationship with the woman. And I checked them respectfully. And I'm going to convey that to y'all now. Now, if you're a black man, and if you are in a relationship, or if you're pursuing a relationship with a woman that is quote unquote biracial, okay? Quote unquote biracial. That does not mean you're not for your people. Because first of all, melanin is 666. 6 protons, 6 electrons, 6 neutrons. It dominates any other quote unquote genetic pattern. Because no other race has a dominant genetic code. No other race has carbon dominating their DNA structure. That's the first thing. The second thing is this. If you are not engaged in a relationship with a quote-unquote biracial woman, because she's biracial, you just, you know, it is what it is, because you like her, she likes you, then it's null and void. Now, if you're seeking out biracial women, which a lot of black men do, and y'all niggas need to be honest, because I know a lot of y'all niggas, then that's a problem. Me, I have never seeked out biracial women. Ever. My family is biracial, and I have never seeked out a biracial woman. My mother is just as light as ZaZa Ali. My younger sister is just as light as ZaZa Ali. But I've never seeked out biracial women as opposed to quote unquote full black or African women. Never. Ever. Okay? But if you do that, then that's the problem. Alright? So I want to preface that. I want to preface this video with that. Because a lot of Negroes and a lot of haters try to shoot that. They try to shoot that up front to try to invalidate what ZaZa Ali is saying, what a lot of our sisters who are, Michelle Alexander, who wrote the book, The New Jim Crow, which I've read. I've read that book 3 times. I've read that book twice. I read that book twice. I read that book once when I was working with white people. When I quit and I started my own business, I read it again. And then I went to jail, and I got out of jail, and I read it again. And I noticed a lot of people be trying to shoot her down because she's biracial. So I have to preface it with that. You have nothing to stand on trying to shoot a black woman down because she is quote unquote biracial. If her mind is African centered, none of that shit matters. All right. So let's go. ZaZa, we miss you. Oh, and also let me say this. The female that I'm currently dealing with right now is fully melanated. She's my complexion. So yeah, and I can prove that. You go to my Facebook page, my IG page, you will see her. She's 5'4", 126 pounds. She got a 24-inch waist, and she's a black woman. She ain't even light skinned. So y'all niggas can eat a dick.
With and to be at one, or to be one with nature, and I have not yet once gotten sick. Not only have I not gotten sick, but those instances where I wasn't wearing a mask, I always wear them. You know, if it's mandatory in the store, I don't have a problem with wearing it. I don't put it over my nose so I can still breathe because breath is life, which is part of the reason why what's happening is happening, but we'll get into that in a minute. But I have not had one interaction or altercation with one person, whether I was in a business without a mask because it wasn't mandatory and some random stranger. I have been in the midst of police officers in Sedona as well as in Los Angeles and a couple of other places outside who said absolutely nothing to me about wearing a mask. And I'm going to get into that part in a few minutes, and specifically part 3 is going to be called Science as a Weapon, Merging Man and Machine. I initially was going to do part 3 as part 1, drop the science first, right? To talk about whatever, I know what everybody wants to talk about, which is what's happening, obviously the vaccination situation. Is this a hoax? Are they lying? Is it real? Initially, my plan was to do that video first. But because I know that most people are operating from a fear-based consciousness, and because I do stay in tune with what's happening with the energy and the mindset of the people, I know that most people do not have the mental, emotional bandwidth to really digest what's going on. So that's one of the reasons why I haven't been putting out any content, because I don't want to be a part of the machine. And the machine is not just the powers that be. The machine is also a lot of people who are at the forefront of the consciousness movement. And I'm not just talking about Black consciousness, but obviously specifically Black consciousness. Doctors, nurses, most of what we're seeing on social media, obviously everything on the news, which is the #1 mechanism for mass programming. And I cannot underscore this enough. Whatever you see the news focusing its attention on, and I'm not just talking about MSNBC and CNN and the more liberal, stations. I'm talking about all of them. They are all serving a bigger agenda, and it's all about programming. So we'll get into that a little bit today, and then part 2 is politics and celebrity games. Because number one, I have said so many times over the past, 7, 8 years since I've been doing video content.
She's been saying it for years. She's been saying it for years. And it's another thing I have to address. I got to address this. Let me pause the system. I got to address this because, see, a lot of our people in the quote-unquote conscious community, if we follow certain scholars or certain individuals like ZaZa, we are all students of our teachers that came before us. But some of our people tend to sway left or right if our people have issues with each other. Okay? Now, we all know that ZaZa had issues with her ex, and I'm not going to mention his name. I love the brother. He's a king. But we know that. But when things like that happen, some of our people go left and right, and they take sides. And we cannot keep doing that. Black people, African people, melanated people. Because we're in a divisive prison. So we're going to clash, especially when you're talking about male and female, African woman, African man. That's going to happen by design. So we can't take sides. We got to look at the information. This is why I love ZaZa Ali. You have to look at the information. I don't judge any sister or any brother based on what someone said that they did or they didn't do. Okay? Especially when it comes to in America, quote unquote, legally, to try to make some money. As a matter of fact, if you got charges on you for trying to make some money, you get more points than the person who did it. But I have to preface it with that because I see this all the time, and I already know I'm nobody, but I already know that if I was to get a certain influence, they're going to say 5 is a 2-time felon, 5 got caught with drugs, 5 got a gun charge, 5 got this, 5 got that, 5 violated probation, 5 this, 5 that. I already know they're going to come out and say all of this shit about me to try to discredit me when the information that I'm presenting is not about me. None of this is about me. None of this is not personal. This is about our people and how we need to navigate to survive. This is not about me. This is not about ZaZa. This is not about no one. This is not about Nitty Fuller. This is not about Tariq Nasheed. This is not about Jason Black. This is not about none of our scholars. Dr. Ben, Ivan Van Sertima, Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X. This is about us as a collective. Y'all have to understand and differentiate. It's a code. So I just want to say that. And I'm sorry if that sounded like a tangent.
Esque relationship with celebrity culture. And when I get into part 2, I'm going to talk about the demigods or the gods beside God, and how most of your demigods, and when I say your, I'm talking specifically to a specific part of our culture, how your gods have failed you in this moment in time. You didn't fail them because you pay homage, because you financially pay into whatever it is that they are offering, because you focus and dedicate a lot of time and energy and attention into that realm, so to speak, of consciousness when it comes to entertainment, and will die kicking and screaming in order to defend celebrities, but at the same time have no respect and pay no homage or focus no energy and intention into the people that have actually paved the way in order to wake you up and expand your consciousness during this moment in time, which is what this is all about. So demigods, setting up a God besides God. And what you are receiving now in this pivotal moment in time, there's nothing that we can compare to the annals of history. All history, we can go back to the ancient indigenous.
Facts. Nothing is like 2020, family. This is the age of Aquarius, and it's beyond that. Nothing, you cannot equate nothing to what has been happening in 2020. Nothing. Even the weather.
And indigenous Peruvian and American societies, the Olmecs, the Grimaldis in Europe, right? All of these ancient customs, ancient histories, ancient texts, right? There is nothing that is equivalent to what is happening in this moment in time.
No.
Great and dreadful day. You know what I'm saying? Great if you are focusing on being in alignment with the creator, with the consciousness of the higher self, so to speak. Dreadful. Dreadful if you are not cognizant of who you are and moving from a heart-based frequency and a heart-based space in order to manifest your highest and best self. So I'm going to paint a little picture today. I put some slides together because I don't want to, I want to make sure that I say everything that's on my heart. I've been taking notes for weeks now on things that I want to say. I've been observing. I've been very quiet because number one, we live in a time where everybody has something to say. And sometimes because we have access to people, we just get online and start talking and kind of flying off with emotions or with words or with information. And I think for me personally, especially with what I've been through in the social media realm, as well as my life, just being an avid student, being a researcher, and particularly when it comes to, you know, vaccinations, when it comes to, you know, disease, biological weapons, and everything that's kind of becoming in vogue now, I don't play with that stuff. So I'm not going to ever come in front of you after, you know, quarantine has been happening for a month and I don't really have all the facts to tell you this is what's happening, this is what's not happening. So for me personally, sometimes it's very important to just be quiet and to be still. And because I'm really in a space of spiritually reflecting and spiritually viewing everything that's happening, because I know that's the requirement of this day and time, that's what I've been doing. So when I titled this, The Gods Are at War, right? What are you talking about, ZaZa? The Gods Are at War. When I wrote The Scientific Intervention in Our Affairs, I released that book in 2015. It is now more than 5 years old. Next year in May, I believe it will be 6 years old. I was purely looking around me and paying attention to what was happening in my reality. And the question that I want to ask you guys, and I'm going to get to this in just a few seconds, when we talk about consciousness, is have you really been paying attention to what's been going on around you? And the argument, well, I didn't really know, is no longer sufficient because number one, we have endless technology at our fingertips. But number two, you know, they say when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. You have to actively, consciously, internally be thinking about attracting or thinking about seeking answers to what's happening in your personal life, what's happening with your family, what's happening with your children, seeking guidance, seeking clarity, seeking input, seeking intervention from God, the creator, the universe, the ancestors, whatever your preferred methodology or language is, I'm comfortable with it all. And I bear witness that there is truth in all different religions and scopes of consciousness. And then I bear witness that there is falsehood in all of them as well. You know what I mean? So we take the best and we leave the rest. Using ignorant as an excuse in this day and time is no longer going to cut it.
It's no longer going to cut it, family, because we're in the age of Aquarius. This is a celestial event. But I'm gonna let the sister keep going. I'm gonna let the queen keep going. I digress because I'm a student. I've learned so much from ZaZa. It don't make no sense. I've been following ZaZa for like 6 years.
Right now, we are in a space where everybody, 100% of the world's population, and particularly America, which is under divine judgment right now, and I'll get to that in just a minute. Excuse me. I'm writing notes because sometimes when I say things, things come up in my mind, so I kind of jot notes down so I don't forget anything. We are living in a time right now where the ability to think for yourself, the ability to have discernment, the ability to move according to what you feel in your heart, opposed to go up to what the world is expecting of you. This is the momentum moving forward that is going to allow you to raise your level of consciousness or to keep you steeped in the state of consciousness that you are already in. So the gods are at war. When I talk about spiritual warfare, I'm going to put together some slides. I'm going to try to keep it at around an hour. Let's see how many hours. How long have I talked already? I don't even know. If I started, let me not worry about time as I tell my clients, don't be a slave. Don't be a slave to time, ZaZa. But I'm not going to talk very long. So part one, dealing in spiritual warfare, and this concept of the heart, the electromagnetic system of us as frequency-based beings.
You heard what she said, family? Frequency-based beings? Have I not been saying that for years? And don't give me no credit. All I've been doing is relaying information from our master, our master teachers. That's all I've been doing. I have been telling y'all, those within the sound of my voice who do not do the research, we are light beings. Our souls are light, trapped inside our physical bodies, which are avatars. And everything down here in the third dimension, 3D, is frequency, vibration, and light. When vibration and light and frequency combine, it creates magnetism and energy. That's the whole. This is the whole show down here. That is why race, okay, race, i.e. melanin dominant or not, is the whole game.
And also our planet being a frequency-based planet, our universe being a frequency-based universe. And then part two, politics and celebrity games. We're going to talk about the whole voting situation right now. If I hear one more black celebrity, black commentator, black, white, or otherwise, but specifically black, because our level of accountability and responsibility is very high right now, much higher than white people, mind you. If I hear one more celebrity, political commentator, random person texting in all caps on my YouTube channel or sending me emails about if we don't vote, it's our fault. You are so out of touch with what's really happening. You're so out of touch with how the political infrastructure actually works in America. You are so out of touch with what's happening behind the scenes and the people that are really truly out of control and more in control. And more important than that, and I want to underscore this, you are very much out of control with the power of the human mind, the power of the human heart, the power that we have as individual and collective, electromagnetic based, vibrating, frequency based beings to send a individual that has unlimited power, unlimited potential, unlimited prowess, and to focus them into a linear-minded, powerless space of, if you don't vote, you're part of the problem. If you say that shit.
Exactly. Family, ZaZa Ali just posted this video 3 hours ago. Me and thousands of others, black people, have been telling y'all this for the longest.
You are a part of the problem. I'm going to get deep into that on part 2 because
you gotta go. At this point in 2020, if you're black in America and you're steadfast on talking about voting, you have to go. You're in the way. It's that shit. When I say you gotta go, you gotta go. Like, if you're breathing, somebody has to stop your breath.
I'm up to here. And again, talking about levels of consciousness. If you can't see that the same exact talking points here in 2020 were the same exact talking points in 2016, and those same exact talking points go back to 2012, 2008, 2004, 2000, 1996, 1992, 1988, they're always the same. It delineates a little bit here and there, right? So now we have George Floyd to call on. 8 years ago, it was Trayvon Martin. You see what I'm saying? So I'm going to get into all of that in politics. So save your soliloquy on why politics is important and knows us like you're wrong and you're misleading people. Save the soliloquies until I give my full-fledged perspective on this in part 2, when I'm going to talk about politics as well as politics and celebrity games or the demigods, right? Because
family, me, 5, under the government name of Jerome Pullen, but I don't even acknowledge that bullshit unless it's when it comes to my business and collecting the check. I have presented to y'all, I have showed y'all facts. Politics in America, Western political politics, is a fucking scheme. Democrats and Republicans are the same motherfuckers. All of this shit was devised under the scheme of Niccolo Machiavelli, who was a scam artist, a pedophile, and he was a genius. He was very smart. And he devised a political scheme to control thousands of people, if not millions. And right now it's millions. I showed y'all this. I put it in the video. If in 2020, when black men, women, and children are getting gunned down by race soldiers disguised as police, if y'all are still talking about voting in 2020, you have to go. Because not only are you a perpetual child, you are rooted in being a perpetual child. So now you are an enemy. Because if I get smoked, or if my cousin, or if somebody in my family, or somebody I love gets smoked, you will justify or try to justify why they got smoked. So now you're my enemy. You are the enemy of every black person in the United States of America. Just off in 2020, if you're talking about voting, you are the enemy of any black person in America. Just off that.
We devote a whole lot of time and attention, particularly black people in America, to celebrity culture, but that energy and that focus and that intention is not reciprocal, and we can see that now more than ever when since the beginning of this year, but specifically since Corona hit, how many of those demigods, and you can decide who they are for yourself, have left you 100% high and dry while you've been waking up every morning trying to figure out the best way to get up and move out in a world where you can't even move anymore. You understand what I'm saying? So I'll get into that in part 2. And in part 3, science as a weapon. Listen, when I wrote Black Matters, Volume 1, The Scientific Intervention in Our Affairs, I wrote the book. I was researching, I was traveling, I was doing radio, but I was focusing on getting, this book done. And when I actually read it after I finished it, I was very surprised how heavy the information was, because anybody who does research, for a living, or has written a book before, or has, gone and done research on a specific subject, when you're in it, you're not really stepping outside of it and looking at it the way that other people will look at it. You just, you go on with the flow. You find information. Oh, that makes sense. You're connecting dots here and there, right? When I read the book, I was shocked at how heavy it was. I was shocked at how much information was in it. And I see why people would come to me and say, are you afraid that you're exposing this information because, the government could do this, the government? No, I'm not afraid. I'm actually fascinated that there are people in power, scientific minds, political minds, etc., that have actually sat back, and instead of using the resources of this planet in order to fix the problems of the planet, you're using the resources of this planet to destroy it and to try to destroy humanity with it. You know what I mean? I'll get into that in part 3, but I wanted to start out with this spiritual conversation because I need to, in my own personal way, pump some love, pump some hope, pump some faith, pump some divine goddess energy, which is lacking in a major way. Much love to my brothers, but with all due respect, this age of Aquarius now is about balancing masculine and feminine energy. So it's not necessarily about women being at the forefront or women being the main progenitors of information or women being the main teachers. It's about balancing masculine and feminine energy. So number one, if you are a man with a large platform, or if you teach, or if you write, or if you rap, or if you have a foothold in any sort of industry, as well as all of our men, the primary focus for our men, all men right now, is going to be to move out of a linear-minded perspective and into the fullness of who you are as a man, which is a balance, should be a balance of masculine and feminine energy. I'm not talking about gender. I'm not talking...
She's talking about universal law, yin and yang. Negative, positive, feminine, masculine. It's not about gender. It's universal law. It's all science.
This is not about sexual orientation. This is about the mind and the heart cohesion. Balance of masculine and feminine energy. But the same goes true for our women, and particularly because the woman is naturally going to come from a more feminine-based perspective, which is exceedingly lacking in this day and time. This is why I say it's going to be extremely important for not any woman, not all women, but a certain type of woman to express that divine goddess energy that is balanced, or that is working to be balanced, as am I.
Exactly. Hence why I present to you guys on my page very quote unquote attractive black melanated women when it comes to consciousness. Because right now, the majority of our women are operating outside of their divine nature. They're being dots, hot girls. They're opening their legs for any and everybody who they're attracted to. They're destroying their souls, and they're trying to justify it because they are programmed. But when you put an equally attractive black woman in front of them, and they tell them the opposite of how they're acting, and they hold them accountable and say, sister, queen, you fucking up. You opening your legs for every single black male you're attracted to? That's dumb as shit. You're destroying yourself. You're making yourself look completely stupid and worthless. Nobody's going to value you. When you do that, then they start to listen. That's why they put the most attractive black women that we have. And I know because I've been in relationships with these women. They put the most attractive black women that we have, and they over-sexualize them. They try to turn them into prostitutes or porn stars. They do that for a reason.
And to help balance this whole equation out. So when we talk about science as a weapon, one of the things, and I talked about this in scientific intervention in our affairs, we actually have scientists that are manipulating medicines and our natural resources, and are very well aware that they are changing the DNA and the genetic makeup of human beings, specifically, men, and I talked about this in the book, where we now have men that are developing, both genitalia, female genitalia, male genitalia. I don't want to get too much into that because my goal is to stay on point in my messages. That's why I have slides so I can keep myself on point. But I also talked about it in the scientific intervention in our affairs. So for you guys that are interested in actually supporting me, because I do run a business and I don't do YouTube for free, you know what I'm saying? I bring these messages out to talk to you guys, but I'm a writer. I'm not a YouTuber. I'm not a blogger. I'm not a influencer. I'm not a social media influencer. I'm a writer. I use YouTube, I use social media, and I use these different mediums in order to do my part, play my part, in order to promote my business. But I just want to make it clear that I am a writer, you know what I mean? So if you're interested in getting more about that, that's in the book. I've also written 3 workbooks. I've written 5 books altogether. The Science of Sex, The Science of Self, Mind.
Real talk. And ZaZa Ali's book, The Science of Sex. I didn't read the whole thing. I downloaded the audio book. I got the audio book. I'm not going to present it because that's be a copyright infraction. But I read 5 chapters of the audio book. But I knew about the science of sex prior to that. But for ZaZa Ali to put that book together as a black woman, I got so much respect for her. Because black women in America are going to have to understand that sex is not a game. And black men in America are going to have to understand that sex is not a game.
Second, third videos that I really want to focus on it. So let me share my screen.
I apologize, family. Oh, we're coming right back. We're coming right back. My bad, my bad, my bad. Yeah, black men, you have to understand that. Sex creates a whole nother human life, black men. Your phallus injected into a black woman's vagina can create another human. So that's nothing to play with, black men. If you're running around here as a black man trying to have sex with every single black woman or woman in general that you're attracted to because you're handsome or because you're in shape or because you have a phallus and you think you know what you're doing with it, you're an idiot, you're a dummy, and you're going to destroy yourself. And also, you're really weak. If you can't discipline yourself sexually as a black man, you're weak. You're weak. And I'm saying this up front. I will tell you Negroes this in person. Y'all, those of y'all who know me, who I love and respect, and y'all love and respect me, y'all know I say this to y'all faces. If you're trying to have sex with every single female that you're attracted to, because you can, you're weak. You're weak. You're weak. And when you catch a STD that you can't get rid of, or when your dumb ass get on child support, and these crackers fuck your life up for 18 plus years, that's your fault. Because you're weak. You are not here on this planet to put your phallus in every single woman that you think is cute or that would allow you to put your phallus in her because you think she's cute or she got a fat ass. Alright? And I'm telling y'all this man to man because I've been there. But I removed myself from that dumbass paradigm at like 24. Because I realized that every single woman, every single black woman you put your phallus in and you handling your business, they get attached. And if you think you're just going to leave them and move on to the next woman, yeah, you can do that, but they're going to bring your ass problems. I realized that at 24 years old. So I stopped doing that dumb shit. Y'all niggas are still doing that dumb shit. And you niggas are idiots and y'all weak.
And hopefully I got everything, I did everything right. Not too many slides, but I did want to, make sure I stay on point, make sure I stay on subject and not be too long-winded. I'll start talking about stuff from, the second and third videos that I really want to focus on. And so let me share my screen. Okay, so I'm up here in the corner.
Big
all right, cool. Am I still recording? In our respective corners, so to speak. I just didn't want to deal with it. And sometimes I don't want to deal with it. And I don't know if after I do these.
And I'm going to pause it right here because I'm going to end it. I'm going to put the link in the chat. So y'all can go to ZaZa Ali's page yourselves and watch the full video. And I'm glad she posted these 3 kings. These are 3 kings: Kobe, Chad Boseman, and Nipsey Hussle. These are 3 kings. These are 3 black men, African men, who were operating as kings. Period. And you can say what you want about Kobe, because he had a Latino wife and he had quote unquote biracial kids. You can say whatever the fuck you want, but he was operating as a king. He took care of his offspring, and his offspring are black. Chad Boseman was operating as a king. He was fighting colon cancer that he told nobody about for 5+ years, and did movies that gave black people inspiration that can't even be quantified. Nipsey Hussle, king, X Street N-E-G, X Street N-word, who made the transition and developed a blueprint for black people, for African men and women in America to be independent and to be entrepreneurs. So whatever criticism you have for these men, you cannot say that they were not kings. You can't say it and prove it. They were kings. And I digress. Y'all go to ZaZa Ali's page, subscribe, check the video out. Stop being Negroes. Please. I love y'all.